Hi guys, Mr. B here, and today we're going to be looking at some SATs papers. So what I'm going to do is I'm running through the SATs paper, going through each question and showing you how to answer it. What I suggest you do is you download the paper from down there, print it off, and have a go at the paper yourself first. Then watch this video with your paper, run through, see if you've got the right answers. If you haven't, see where you made some mistakes and how you can correct those. Now, if any of the questions, if I have made any videos on that question that will help you out getting questions in future, if you've got more on them, I will put them up in the top corner. They'll come up so you can click on them and you can have a look if you want to. That means if you're on a question, you got it wrong or you find it a little bit harder, if you click up there, it will show you how to do them. Now, I haven't done videos on all the different types of questions you will get yet, so all the ones I have done will come up, and if I do more in future, I will add them in. Okay, let's get on with the paper. The SATs paper that we're looking at today is the Key Stage 2 English Reading test from 2017. Now with this test, I might do it a little bit differently. Some of the answers, I'll explain what the answers are. I might put some bullet points down, but I might not write out the answers in full on there because there's numerous different answers that you can put down there. So what I'll do is I'll work through the answers, let you know them, discuss them, might put some bullet points down. I'll let you know if you need to write in full sentences. So let's get started. Now with tests, I don't normally go over the instruction pages because I think you can go through them and have a look yourself and see what it is. But I'm going over them in this test, mainly because it is the reading test. And I want to explain how I would suggest that you go through it. Now at the bottom, the very bottom of this instruction page, you say, as this is a reading test, you must use the information text to answer the questions. When a question includes a page reference, you should refer to that text on the page to help you answer. That's really important. Please guys, use the book there and go to it. Now, in bold there it says you have 1 hour to read the texts in the reading booklet and answer the questions in the booklet. So, you have an hour to read and to answer the questions. Now, I wouldn't immediately go in, open the book, read all the way through the text and then answer the questions. Because by the time you get to the last part of it, you're probably going to have forgot the first questions, you're going to need to read it again, and you're wasting your own time. If you go through the booklet, and you'll see when we go on to the first page, at the top it will tell you which section the questions are going to be on for there. So they go in order. You get your questions for the first part, then the second part, then the third part. So what I would do is I'd open my test, see that the first questions were on the first piece, which is about Gabby and the cat, and I would read that part and then answer those questions. Then move on to the next one, read that one, answer those questions, move on to the last one, read those, answer those questions. That's really going to help you make best use of your time. Now let's start the test. So immediately the test tells us that in questions 1 to 14, we're going to be asked about questions from Gabby to the rescue, which is pages 4 and 5, the story at the start of your reading booklet. Now this first question has a bit in italic right at the start. A Siamese cat crouched on a tree branch, peering down at Gabby with brilliant blue eyes. Now the reason it's in italics means that's exactly what it says in the actual story. Okay, and we have to work out what word is closest in meaning to crouched. Now, crouched is very similar to squatted, so that's our answer. If you're not sure which one it is, I would try and get rid of other ones that you know. Okay, so if you think, oh, I don't know what crouch means. Now, crouch is quite an easy word that a lot of you will have heard of. But if not, you could have a look there. So Siamese cat's crouched on it. Would it be trembling on there? Would it be pouncing on there? Balanced. Okay. Pick which one you think it is and always have a go, because if you don't have a go, there's no chance that you're going to get that 1 mark. Question 2 says, look at the first paragraph beginning a Siamese cat, and then it has Gabby pulled the cardigan tighter around her. Why does Gabby do this? We have 4 choices. She's thinking of wrapping the cat in the cardigan. She's worried about damaging the cardigan. She's feeling cold, and she's worried the cardigan will get difficult to climb in. Now, if you have a look at the actual paper, just after it says Gabby pulled the cardigan tighter around her, it says this was her last good school cardigan until who knows when her father would have enough money to buy her a new one. Also, when she decides that she's going to climb the tree, she takes it off and puts it on the ground. That's in a couple of paragraphs on. So remember, when you're going through this paper, always read the text back again, because it could be any of those really, unless you look at the text and look about what's around it. And it says it's a last good cardigan, and she takes it off before she's climbing. So I would go on with she is worried about damage to the cardigan. She doesn't know when she's going to get a new one if she damages it, so she's worried about damaging it. She's definitely not thinking of wrapping the cat in the cardigan, or else she wouldn't have took it off. She wasn't feeling cold, or she would have took it off. She's worried about the cardigan might be difficult to climb in. That one could be a bit tricky, might get some of you out, but you need to look at the sentence immediately after, and that gives us the information. Question 3 says, in the paragraph where it begins, mind made up, Gabby says to the cat, you're out of luck. In what way does Gabby think the cat is out of luck? Now, this all links in again with you have to read around it. Now, if you might have read it and read the whole book and go back, but read back. It tells you which paragraph, so look for the paragraph that says mind made up. It's the second paragraph in there. Read it, have a look. Where's the questions? You're out of luck. Afterwards, she yells, my mum, the master tree climber and cat rescuer, isn't back yet. So she's saying she's out of luck because her mum isn't there. Okay. Now there could be different ways you could put that. You could say, Gabby's mum wasn't back. Gabby's mum was better at getting cats out of trees and she wasn't there. Gabby wasn't as good as her mum, or Gabby wasn't the expert. But it all stems from her mum being the one that's good at getting cats out of trees. Question 4 says, when Gabby pulls herself on the branch on page 4, the cat meows. What does Gabby think the cat is trying to say when it meows? Now, it doesn't say, I think the cat said this, but if we say it says the cat meowed, then underneath it says, I am hurrying. So that's what she says back. So why would we say I am hurrying? We'd say I am hurrying if someone said, hurry up, get me down quick, hurry up. So that's what we're doing there. It's asking her to hurry up. So in some way you need to write hurry up, get me down, you're taking too long, something like that. But I would use asking her to hurry up because we're using the words from the text and it's more likely to get us answers. Why had Gabby climbed the tree in the previous summer? So if you just read there, it actually tells us that in the next paragraph, the last time Gabby had climbed the tree when she was and her best friend Alma had challenged the boys to a water balloon fight last summer. So it could be something to do with the water balloon fight. So you're saying she climbed it because of the water balloon fight. She also goes on to say it's a good spot to throw the water balloon, so you could put that out down. It all depends on it, but it all comes from the water balloon fight. Okay. Water balloon fight. Okay, she could throw better from up there. You might have wrote something like that. It's only 1 mark, so as long as we make the one reason why, then we're okay. What you might have noticed as well is these questions are going in order through the text. So that helps you as well, because you know your answer is going to be some way after the one that you've just answered, and normally not that far. Question 6 says that Gabby secured her feet and hands and climbed higher. What does secured her hands and feet mean? So, in order to understand what this means, this is the one word that we need to really think about. Okay, we've got the name of the character. We all know her feet and hands and climbed higher. Those are his words. It's really trying to find out if we know what this word secured means. Now, secured, if you think about it, if you think, right, what does that mean? Thinking there, where have you heard the word before? A secure vault, so it's safe. Okay, so we want to be writing something here like getting a good grip. Okay, something like that. And you can also think about if you were climbing a tree, what would you be doing? If you're securing your hands and feet and then climbing higher, what are you doing? So you're writing something like getting a good grip. You might write something like moving her hands and feet, adjusting her hands and feet so she can hold on better, getting a firm hold, something like that. And that's what she's doing before she climbs higher. Question 7 says, Gabby thinks she makes 2 mistakes while trying to rescue the cat. What is the first mistake Gabby makes while trying to rescue the cat? Now, this one's quite easy for us if we use our heads and look at the text. If we look down at the bottom of page 4, it says, say you aren't the only one who can climb, but then she looked down, mistake number 1. So it actually tells us mistake number 1 was looking down. Nice, easy one for us. Then we move on to question 8, looking down. So question 8, look at the paragraph beginning, she knew the universal rule. What does the word universal tell you about the rule? Again, it's just trying to work out, make sure we know what the word universal means. Now, universal means something that everyone knows, okay? So what it's trying to say is we want a sentence saying something like everyone knows the rule, or maybe all people, everyone who climbs trees knows the rule. It's something like it's a rule that's well known. Everyone knows the rule is what it's trying to tell us. Okay. Everyone knows the rule. Question 9 says, look at the paragraph beginning, well, she'd just have to not fall. That sounds what the paragraph that the answer's in. And then later on the paragraph it says, the cat was too shiny, too chubby. And it says, what conclusions does Gabby draw from this? Now, in the text, literally just before it says that, it actually says, let's just have a look there, but this was no stray. Okay, now a stray cat means one that's not owned by someone. And then later on, it says someone loved that cat, and that's what it's getting us trying to tell us. It's trying to tell us that Gabby's realised that this cat isn't stray. It belongs to someone. It's someone's cat. Okay, so I'm just going to write stray there, but you'd write a sentence saying the cat isn't a stray, or the cat belongs to someone. That would get us the 1 mark. Now, look at page 5. What are the 3 ways the cat shows it does not enjoy Gabby trying to rescue it? Actually, 4 ways. If you look in the text, there's at one point in page 5 where it tells us 3 right off the bat together. It's on a single sentence in a paragraph. There was never any arched backs, hisses, or sharp teeth. Okay, so we could put the arched back. This is what she does when she first goes up. Could do the hisses. And then it shows her teeth, okay? But there is also one more, okay? When the cat goes to get rescued from Gabby, it digs its claws in, okay? So I'm going to write claws. Obviously, you write these in a bit more detail. I'm just writing down so we know what the answers are. So it arches back, it hissed at her, it showed its teeth, and it put its claws into her when it jumped onto her. So those are 4 different ways. You only need 3 for the 2 marks. Okay, on that, if you had all 3, you get 2 marks. If you had 2 right, you would get 1 mark. Okay. Question 11. She resettled on the branch considering her options. What does considering her options mean in the sentence? So let's forget about she resettled on the branch. Let's just think about considering her options. So we've got thinking what to do, changing her mind, looking at it from the cat's point of view, and wishing her mum was there. Okay, well, we know it's not wishing her mum was there, okay, because it doesn't mention her mum at all in there. Considering her options to mention the cat as well, so you could rule that one out if you weren't sure as well. Now, thinking about what to do and changing her mind to that you think, I'm not sure which one, we would go with thinking about what to do. Considering is a synonym for thinking. Okay, so she's thinking about her options. She's thinking about what to do. Doesn't say she changed her mind because she hasn't had a plan to start off with. So if she hasn't got a plan to start off with, she can't change it. Question 12 says, look at page 5 and give 1 piece of advice that Gabby's mother gives her dealing with cats. Now, there are 2 in there that Gabby's mother gave, but it's only asking us for 1. Puts it in bold so we know. 2 ways. One of them, she said, speak softly. So we could use that one. She told her to speak softly to the cat. And the other one was pick it up by the neck. Okay, so you wouldn't just write softly on neck, obviously. But those are the 2 ones. So you could pick one of them, pick it up by the scruff of the neck like its mother used to. Question 13 says, Gabby uses the Spanish word gato, which is cat. And who else in the story speaks Spanish? Well, at another point in the story, it tells us what her mother actually said. Que bonita eres gatita, which is Spanish, and it's her mum saying it. So our answer with that one would be mum or mom, which is referred to in the text. Question 14 is one of the questions where we have to number the following events in the order that they happened. The first one's already been done for us. So we've got a 1 when Gabby notices a cat. Now, easiest way to do this question, if you're not sure, just skim through the text and see as each one happens. You can always do it and come back and check with it if you want to later. But she noticed the cat, then she took off her cardigan. Then she remembered the water balloon fight. Then she looked down. She breaks the universal rule for tree climbing. And then she tried to pick up the cat right at the end. Okay, so that will be the order that we would want them. You need them all in there for the correct sequence. So questions 15 to 28 are about our next piece of reading, which is Swimming the English Channel, which is on pages 6 and 7. And this is our first factual piece of writing. Question 15 says, nearly 22 hours later, the exhausted man staggered onto French soil on Calais and became an instant hero. We have to find and copy two different words from the sentence above that show how tired Matthew Webb was. Now, tired is the main word there, so we need to look in the sentence and see where the synonyms for tired are, the words that mean the same. Now, our first one is exhausted, and if you know these words, it's easy to just spot them and put them in straight away. Exhausted. And our second word is staggered. And staggered is where we would walk if we were tired. We wouldn't stagger if there wasn't something affecting us, like being tired or being injured, something like that. Now, that's easy if you know the words, but if not, you can just look at the sentence and have a look to see which words it can't be. Now, obviously, this might take a little bit longer, but things like French soil, hero, instant, Calais, 22, that's a number, hours, all these words you know are not other words that you could use for tired. So you could do to cross them out, and if you obviously ended up crossing them all out, man, obviously we know it's not tired, onto, then we would only have two left. Oh, it came there. We would have two left, exhausted and staggered. So you'd have eliminated all the others. Question 16 asks us what event made Matthew Webb want to swim the English Channel. Now, if you have a look in the piece of writing, it says that Matthew Webb was inspired to go to do the swimming when J.B. Thompson failed to swim it in 1872. So just checking there. So it was J.B. Thompson failing to swim the English Channel, which was what inspired him. Okay, so failing to swim that channel. So our answer would be something like someone failed in 1972, J.B. Thompson's attempt to swim it, J.B. Thompson attempt to swim it in 1972 and didn't manage to do it. It wouldn't be he was inspired by J.B. Thompson, because it says what event, and the event that inspired him was the fact that J.B. Thompson couldn't swim it, not J.B. Thompson himself. Question 17 says, look at the paragraph beginning 27-year-old Webb, and we have to find and copy one word from the paragraph that is closest in meaning to motivated. We've already mentioned it there. I said he was inspired, so inspired would be our answer. That's again looking for synonyms, a word that means the same as motivated, and inspired is the closest in meaning to motivated. If you're not sure when you're looking at that, if you have a look through the text, you'll see that there's not many other words in that paragraph that could really be used to replace motivated. Inspired's the only real one there. So again, use process of elimination if you're not sure. Question 18 says, using information from the text, put a tick in the correct box to show whether each statement is true or false. So we have to tick whether this statement on the left is true or false. It's worth 2 marks. First one says, Matthew Webb's first attempt to swim the English Channel was not successful. That one is true because we found out in there, due to bad weather, he had to abandon it. Next one says the first successful swim of the English Channel was in 1872. That was false because that when J.B. Thompson tried and he failed. Next one says J.B. Thompson and Matthew Webb swam the English Channel in 1875. We know this one is false as well because J.B. Thompson tried in 1872, Matthew Webb attempted in 1875. And the last one says Matthew Webb took 20 hours to swim the English Channel there, and it's false because, as we know, as I slipped up there, it is 20 hours. So you get 2 marks there for all 4 answers, and you would get 1 mark if you got 3 answers right. Question 19 says, name 2 of the hardships that Matthew Webb faced in swimming the English Channel. Explain how he dealt with them. Now, hardship means something that he found difficult. If you're not sure what the word means, look at the root word, which is hard, and we know that means something that's difficult. So things that were difficult. Now, there's about 4 or so, but there's 2 obvious ones in the text, so we're going to look at those ones first. Now, the first hardship was the cold, how cold it was in the water, or hypothermia. So we need to write down cold or hypothermia, whichever one it is, and then how he dealt with it. Now, how he dealt with it was covering himself in oil. So don't just write cold, write cold water, something like that. And when you're writing oil, obviously write covered himself in oil to deal with it. The next hardship we've got there that's obvious in the text is jellyfish. And it talks about them getting stings off jellyfish. So you might jellyfish stings, things like that. And again, you might think it's the same thing, but he dealt with that using oil, coating himself in oil. So those are the two obvious ones. You get 2 marks, 1 mark for each there, but there are a couple other ones there. Mentioned that the people on the boat that followed him over gave him food and drink. So a hardship would be not having food and drink, and how he dealt with it would be friends riding boats next to him, giving it to him. And you might also write something like danger and needing protection from other boats, things like that. And again, accompanied by friends and other boats and protection. That would have been how we dealt with it. Question 20 says find and copy a group of words that tells you that that the drinks of ale, brandy and beef tea given to Matthew Wed would be considered unusual today. So when you can see here, it's got a bit of a shorter line. Now the reason it's got a bit of a shorter line is because although that we do need to use a group of words, it's telling us that the group of words that we need to use aren't too long. We're not using a full sentence or a lot from a paragraph. Now it's asking us why the words that would show us that it's unusual today, and if you look in the thing there, it says that it tells us about the food, and then it says that they're not standard for today's cross channel swimmers. So the group of words that we're looking for that would show us was unusual would be not standard. Question 21 says why do slow channel swimmers swim further than faster swimmers? And there's 2 main reasons for this. You could put down that the faster swimmers are more direct, or the slow swimmers are less direct, or you could mention about the tides and the currents, saying that the tides and the currents knock the swimmers, and you might join those together, saying knock them, that's why they are less direct there. Oh, 2 seconds wrong, currents there. And either one of those will get you 1 mark. Question 22 says look at the section headed frequently asked questions and asks us how long did the fastest swim take across the channel take. So we just need to check in the text, and it tells us it was 7 hours. Now make sure you have the hours. If you just put 7, you're not going to be getting a right answer. Question 23 says look at the section headed frequently asked questions and put a tick in the correct box to show whether each of the following statements is a fact or opinion, and again for 2 marks. So again it says look at the section. That's really important. Let's look at it. Let's not try and remember. First one says the temperature of the water in the channel can range from 12 degrees to 18 degrees. That's a fact right in the first question. It tells us that. The second one says water with a temperature of 18 degrees is too cold to swim in. Now in the text it says that people would generally consider below 20 degrees to be cold for swimming, but that says people consider, so it's an opinion, not a fact. The next one says the direct distance across the channel is approximately 21 miles. Now if we look on there, it says how far is it from England to France, and it tells us there that it's approximately 21 miles in the exact same words, so that's a fact. Last one says faster swimmers do not swim as many miles across the channel. Now if we look down there, when it tells us how long does it take to swim the channel, it tells us that faster swimmers have a more direct route, so they don't swim as many miles. It literally tells us that. So that again is a fact. Again, you would get 2 marks for all of the answers, and you would get 1 mark if you had 3 of those right. Question 24 says, in what year did French authorities make it illegal for people to swim from France to England? If we look down at the safe to swim section and we read down, it tells us that it was outlawed, let's have a look at the exact words, outlawed swimming from France to England in 1993. So that's our answer. Again, the only way it might be tricky is they've replaced the word outlawed with illegal. Question 25 tells us to look at the section safe to swim. So if we look there, we need to find and copy 1 word which shows that swimming in the channel is illegal in France. So we need to copy 1 word from that section. We've already mentioned it, and that is outlawed. Okay, again, it's a synonym. It means the same thing. If you read through the sentence as well and you're not sure, pick one of the words that you think is most likely to mean it. Question 26 says David Williams was determined to be successful in his attempt to swim the English Channel, and we have to give 1 piece of evidence from the text that shows us this. Now it tells us quite a little bit about David Williams, tells us about being an author, about not being spotty at school, but they don't link into showing us how determined he was, how much he really wanted it. There are 2 things that we could use to get the points there. The first one saying he never missed a training session, showing us that he's really up for this, really determined, really wants to do it. So that could be our first one. Our second one could be the fact that he trained for 9 months. It's a long time to keep training for something. You have to be determined if you're keeping going for a full 9 months. So either of those would get us 1 mark. Question 27 asks us which of the following would be the most suitable summary of the whole text. Now let's just rule out ones it can't be. Can't be the life of David Williams because it only tells us a little bit at the end. We can take out sailing the channel because it doesn't mention sailing at the end. The only one that you might have a little bit wonder on which one it is sporting challenge, a training for survival. But if we have a look through there, it's not really training for survival. You would expect that to be a different type of text. A sporting challenge is where we want our tick because it's something that they're actually doing and challenging themselves to do. Question 28 asks us to draw lines to match each section to its main content and one has been done for you. So the one that's been done says Celebrity Summer, so the section titled Celebrity Summer, that tells us it highlights the continued attractions of swimming the channel. So we have one answer in there for us. So what we have to do is that we have the 3 titles of the other 3 parts of this piece of text and we have to match them up with the best summary for the description of what's in them. So let's start with the first one, which is the first channel swimmer. So let's work down and see which one it could be. Summarises key information about swimming the channel. It does have some information in there, but that's not the main thing that the first channel swimmer is about. Second one says shows contrasting viewpoints about the swimming the channel. It doesn't. It only tells us about the story of the first person who swam the channel. And then the last one says gives information about the origins of swimming the channel. Origins means where something started. So the first channel swimmer, first in origin, a little bit like it could be used as synonyms. So that's the correct line. If you're not sure of that one, you can always leave it out. Go on to the next one, see which ones you have left. Frequently asked questions. Let's have a look at the first one. Summarises key information about swimming the channel. Now it does. It tells us lots of things about how cold the water is, what the distance is, how long it takes to swim, all those type of things. So then the last one must be this one. Safe to swim must be shows contrasting viewpoints about swimming the channel. And contrasting means showing 2 different viewpoints, showing different viewpoints, which it does because it tells us about people who thought it was stupid with all the boats there and making it illegal and people who thought it was good. Of the test there, questions 29 to 39, about the last bit story in the reading paper, which is called An Accountant at Sea, pages 8 to 10. So, question 29 says, like a toy sitting on a glass table, it's italics, we know it's from the text. What does this description suggest about the boat? Now that would suggest 2 things to me. It would either, like a toy sitting on a glass table, toy is really small, so we're saying that the boat is really small or is insignificant. That will get you a point. Or you might also say that it's still and it's not moving. Glass table, obviously if it's glass, the glass is straight. We don't have ripples in it like water or anything like that. So that it is still, so it's not moving. Either of those will get us the point. Question 30, look at page 8. What was unusual for Michael about this day? Now when we look at page 8 and we look at there, Michael hadn't seen dolphins, this is in the second paragraph, sorry, for the first time in over a week, Michael hadn't seen a dolphin all day. So it says what is unusual. First time in a week, so normally he sees dolphins. So this time, he didn't see any dolphins. So that is what's unusual about the day. Question 31. The put-put of the engine was lost in the big, quiet stillness of the afternoon. Choose the best words to match the description above. Circle both of your choices. So it says circle, don't tick or anything like that. To make sure we're doing what it's asking us to. So firstly, we're looking at the boat was. So the engine, this part here, okay, it's talking about the boat, it's talking about the engine. So put of our engine, so that's the sound that the engine is making there. Doesn't mean that it's smoking, okay, you don't cross these out, this is just because I'm showing you. It doesn't say it's racing, put's not a sound I would associate with a really fast engine, and roaring again, it's not that. So it would be most likely, I would say, chucking. Along on there, and then it's asking us about the sea. So let's have a look. And it describes it as the big, quiet stillness of the afternoon. Okay, so it doesn't mention being cold. Okay, it doesn't say rocking tide, definitely not. And bubbling ripples again says that something's moving. Smooth waters would be the one we'd want to circle there. Question 32 says, look at page 8 and find and copy 2 different words that show Michael enjoyed the feeling of the cool water. Now, if you go all the way down page 8, it doesn't really tell us anything about how the water feels to him until right at the end. So it tells us that he scooped up a bucket of water, seawater to cool himself down. And then it tells us about the sun, describes it. And then we have that last sentence. He poured the water over himself, savouring the delicious coolness. So we've only really got that last bit that's telling us how he feels about the water, savouring the delicious coolness. And it's asking us how we enjoyed the feeling of the cool water. So we can't use coolness. So in that case, it must be savouring, which means when you're really enjoying something, and delicious, which means something that is normally used for tastes really nice, but can be used in this way as well. Now move on to question 33, which is our first 3-mark answer. Okay, so this is where there are lots of detail you can see. Already they have lots of lines. Now I'm not going to write an example answer for this. I might discuss one, but I'll tell you the different points that you could have in, because there's lots of different ways you could include that. I'm going to tell you how you'll get your points, and I'm going to tell you what we need to look at in the question. So first thing is, how is the whale made to seem mysterious? Remember that as your question. I know it sounds silly, but a lot of people go off on tangents and answer different things. Okay, they talk about different things in the story that don't answer the question, how is the whale made to seem mysterious? So we need to explain 2 ways, and we need to give evidence from the text. Okay, so we need at least 2 ways and to give evidence. Now, the way you would get your 3 marks is if you had 2 different ways and you explained and supported one with evidence from the text, at least one, that would get you 3 marks. To get 2 marks, you'd have to have 2 points, but you hadn't used evidence, or you'd have 1 point, but you'd used evidence. Okay, and you only get 1 mark if you just did 1 acceptable point. So the easiest way to see it is there's 2 marks available for your 2 points, okay, and there's 1 mark available for using evidence from the text. So we see there, 2 marks there, and 1 mark for your evidence. Okay, so now there's lots of different ways how the whale is made to seem mysterious. It comes out of nowhere, unexpected, gives us that sound straight away, but doesn't really explain what it is, the unfamiliar sound. It appears and disappears. We learn about how shocked Michael is and how confused he is. That helps to create mysterious sort of feeling there, because the main character's confused. It describes parts of the whale, but it doesn't sort of explain all of what the whale looks like. Oh, it's a whale that has this, that and the other. It says, oh, I saw the rubbery one, the patchwork quilt it talks about. It doesn't straight away say what it is. It doesn't immediately say it's a whale. It describes the different parts of it. Uses familiar things to sort of describe the unrecognisable for us. And it rules out what it is rather than telling us what it is. Okay, so those are lots of different points, about 7 different points there. So I'm going to go through them again. Firstly, it's unexpected, unidentified, comes from nowhere, gives us an unfamiliar sound. That could be your point. Another point could be it's an unexpected appearance probably, and disappearance. We don't know what it is. Third one, we've got Michael, how shocked and confused he is. 4th point, we've got describing the different way the parts of the whale and how only part of the whale is visible. Got 5th point is it doesn't immediately, the writer doesn't immediately say what this object is. It lets us think and lets us wonder what it is. It uses familiar things next point, 6, is it describes familiar things to describe what it looks like rather than telling us what it is. And the last one, number 7, rules out what it is rather than telling you what it is. So what I mean is, it says it's not this, it's not that, it's not a dolphin, it's too big for a dolphin. It tells us what it's not rather than what it is, so we continue thinking. So you'd use those 2 of those points, and then you'd give some reason behind it. Okay, so you might want something like at the start, when the whale first comes, it makes an unexpected sound from nowhere, but it doesn't tell us what it is. That makes us think about what it is. Okay, we're using the evidence there, the point of the unfamiliar sound, but we're using the evidence from the text is the sound came from nowhere, and you talk about the confusion and you link that with another point. You might want to say another point with a
evidence, something like a black shape, much bigger than a dolphin. It doesn't tell us what the shape is, but it tells that. So again, we're using the point where it's telling us what it's not rather than what it is, but we're seeing using the evidence from the text about the dolphin. These questions are one of the harder ones in the test, but all you need to do is keep practice writing them, keep practice doing them, and just look at what it's asking us to do, okay? 2 ways. Give it evidence from the text. It's asking us how the whale seem mysterious. These are the questions where we just have to practice answering them in order to get better at them. Question 34 says, when Michael touched the whale, it felt smooth. And according to the text on page 9, why might we have expected it to feel smooth? So if we look through the text on page 9, on the 3rd paragraph, it says a black shape, much bigger than the biggest dolphin, showed about 5 meters from the boat. It was like a polished rock. Okay, so polished rock there describes it as, that was what we'd be looking for the answer. Polished rock, if you've ever felt one, are extremely smooth. So it's describing it like something that is already very smooth. So that's why we would think in our head it's a very smooth surface. But then for 34b, it says, according to the text on page 10, why might we have not expected it to feel smooth? So let's just read near the start, the top, of page 10. So carefully, Michael leaned over. On one side, the boat lay the whale's tapering tail. On the other side, the head with its scarred lines lay like a piece of huge, dark wreckage. This close, Michael could see the big sections of skin that had peeled off in straight lines, giving the whale's head a patchwork look in grey and blacks. There's lots of points there that will make us think that it was not smooth, okay? It tells us about bits of skin missing, scars all over it, okay? It described it like a patchwork. Okay, so I'm just going to put one in there. We've got scars. Could use something like that. You could use the fact that it is described as a wreckage. Okay, you wouldn't expect a wreckage to be smooth. Okay, so there's a few reasons for B. Question 35 says, look at the paragraph beginning, carefully Michael leaned. Where was the whale? So let's have a look there. One that we've just read there, and at the start of it, it told us. So it said, carefully Michael leaned over to look. On one side of the boat lay the whale's tapering tail, on the other side the head. So it tells us on one side of the boat he's got the tail, the other side he's got the head. So we know it's not in front of the boat, we know it's not at the side of the boat, we know it's not 5 meters from the boat, we know it is under the boat because it tells us in the text. Question 36 is another one of our 3 markers, and it says, look at the paragraph beginning, carefully Michael leaned. So the paragraph we've looked at in the last couple of questions. What does this paragraph tell you about Michael's character? Again, this is what we are answering. Michael's character, that's the main part. What do we know about Michael from what we've seen? What do you think we need to use evidence from the text for our answer? Again, 2 features of his character and evidence. 2 points. 1 for each point that you use, and there's 1 point available for your evidence. Okay, so if you get 2 features and use evidence for one of them, 3 marks. 1 with evidence, 2 marks. 2 points without evidence, 2 marks. 1 point just on its own, 1 mark. Okay, but let's practice these questions and make sure we get all 3 marks. So what I'm going to do, it's again, I'm not going to answer on this question because there's lots of different ones you could have. I'm going to talk about the different points that will be accepted as the right answer, but I'm also going to give the evidence that you would give with each of them. So there's about 5 acceptable points that are given, and I'm going to give evidence with each of them. So as long as you use 2 of those points and you use one of the evidence that I'm telling you, you would get 3 marks. Okay, so the first one, you could say that he is curious or interested, and that's because when the whale comes, he's looking at it, he's trying to describe it, he's trying to think about what it is. Okay, second one is observant, so he can really take in his surroundings, and that would be because of the way that he describes it. He uses really descriptive language and talks about he compares what the whale looks like to different things like the patchwork and the wreckage and the polished stone. So he's really observant. Third one is brave, daring. You could use that, brave or daring, because when the whale comes, he isn't scared or anything like that. He does initially fall down, but then when he sees what it is, he's not frightened, and he tries to touch it. Question 4, respectful and gentle. And point 4 that you could use would be respectful or gentle. He doesn't try to he doesn't try to make it away. He goes quite slow when he goes to the whale, and he sort of just touches it quite softly. So he's quite a gentle person, quite respectful. And the last acceptable point would be something along the lines of being cautious or quite calm. Obviously, there's a huge wheel under his boat. It could smash his boat, could leave him shipwrecked, something like that. He's not panicking. He's just putting his hand out. He's trying to touch it. He's not shouting. He's not screaming. There will be evidence for that one. So there's 5 different points there. You only need 2 of those, and one of them would have evidence to get you 3 points. What I also do with these questions is I would give both of your points evidence, because if one of your pieces of evidence isn't right, or you got a bit mixed up, your next one might be right. Okay, so give 2 pieces of evidence, even though you're only getting 1 mark for it, just to cover your back. Okay. Question 37 says, the whale did not seem to be alarmed by meeting Michael. How can you tell this from its actions? Give 2 ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the 2 main points I think that stand out. I'll give you some other ones that would be acceptable, and then let's have a look at the ones that we couldn't take in. So from its actions, so the things it did. The first one I would definitely say is he let Michael touch him. Okay, so he didn't sort of move away when he saw the hand or anything like that. So he wouldn't be alarmed because he let Michael touch him. The second point I would really say was when they looked at each other. It talked about looking into his eye, and Michael said that it looked back at him. Okay, at that point, if it was alarmed, it would sort of probably, I would have thought, swam away. So it looked at him in the eye, would be something like that. Those, I would say, would probably be 2 of the most obvious, but you might have come up with others. We might have things like the whale stayed, or it left and came back because it made the sound at first and it wasn't there, then it came back. The whale looked Michael in the eye. We've looked at that one. The whale came close to Michael, close enough for him to touch it. Okay, so the whale came near the boat. If it was alarmed, if it was scared by the boat, it wouldn't have came close to it. And the whale swam slowly away at the end. Okay, it was described as sort of caressing the boat. If it was worried, okay, it would probably swim as fast as it could away from the boat, or sink as quick as it could, or disappear as soon as it comes. So it swam slowly away from the boat, showing us that's not alarm. Now, the question says how can you tell them from its actions, okay? So we don't want answers like it didn't attack him, it didn't swallow the boat, things like that, because that's not what it did, that's what it didn't do. It's asking us what it did. From what it did, how can we tell it's not alarmed, okay? So although yes, didn't attack him, but we're looking at what the actual the whale did. Okay, so be careful with that one. 2 marks, 1 for each. Question 38 says, like a sleeper waking from a dream, he looked around, dazed. This tells us that at the end of the story, Michael felt that he wanted the experience to continue. He had experienced something similar before. The experience was unreal, or the experience was worrying. Okay. Now, when we're looking at this one again, have a look. I think it's this one. Try and rule out other ones. You want the experience to continue. Okay. Now that one might be a little bit hard one, because sometimes when you wake up from a dream, you want the dream to continue. You try to go back to sleep and try and remember it, but not always. Okay. So that would rule that one out. He has experienced something similar before. Definitely easiest one to rule out. Okay, because he looked around dazed. You wouldn't be dazed if it was something that happened all the time. Okay. Now we have the experience was worrying and the experience was unreal. Now, with this one, you would want to go with the experience is unreal. So when we're talking about a dream, that is the key word. Okay, a dream is unreal. Things happen there that don't normally happen. Okay, you don't always wake up worrying. Okay, from dreams and things that you've had. So from this one, we would tick with the experience was unreal. And the last question on the Last question on the test there, question number 39, says tick 1 box in each row to show whether each statement is true or false. Okay, so our first statement says, Michael was in an unfamiliar area of the sea when he saw the reel. This is false, because in the thing it tells us that he's on his usual survey, okay, the usual area that he's normally in. Next one, the boat was still motoring forwards when the whale appeared. Again, that's false. And when we come to it, it tells us that he'd already turned the engine off, the water was still, so he wasn't moving. The whale felt warm and soft when Michael touched it. This one is false, okay, because it describes how he touched it. It doesn't mention that it was warm when he touched it. It actually tells us that it was quite cool when he touched it, so the opposite of warm. Michael could not name the colour of the whale's eye. And that one would be true. He tries to describe it using a couple of different colours, but he can't actually describe it.
Hope you found that video useful, guys, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. You'll get notifications of any videos that I put up as and when I do. Please share it if you know anyone that will benefit from this and find it useful. And if you've got any questions or anything, comment or use the Twitter or the Facebook page. Till next time, see you later.